What it do, Dream Team? It's your boy D Neal back with another reaction video. We got top 10 reasons not to move to Australia. I think this is very interesting because I've heard great things about Australia in different videos. Other than them animals y'all got, y'all be having some of them animals and they be in the house, the snakes and the spiders and all. No, I can't deal with it. But other than that, I've heard great things about Australia. So we have to see these reasons, but before we do, make sure you subscribe to the channel, ring notification bell, get a video thumbs up so it gets suggested. Social media, Patreon, all the top. You subscribe to any of it. Put all the links in the description. All you gotta do is hit the link, follow me, talk to me. I'm human. I talk bad. If you got a favorite video suggestion, you can subscribe to Patreon or in the description there's a Google form link. What we got?
G'day mates, how you going? Cause today we're talking about the land down under, Australia. Is it a country? Is it a continent? Do kangaroos really just roam freely about? Sounds like fake news to me. But it's not. The world's 6th largest country is a giant 3 million square mile island continent stuck between the Indian and Pacific Oceans. And this strange geographic location is what makes Australia such an ecological and biological anomaly with so much diverse nature and wildlife unique only to the country. From Tasmania to the stunning beaches to the outback rainforests and Great Barrier Reef, there is so much natural beauty to be found here.
I was about to say, that's absolutely gorgeous. Like, these views are absolutely
forests and Great Barrier Reef, there is so much natural beauty to be found here. But not only is the nature stunning, Australia is also home to a few highly advanced cosmopolitan cities, with the two biggest cities, Sydney and Melbourne, routinely ranking among the top 5 best cities to live in the world. Speaking of which, let's hit 5,000 likes and I'll do a video on the top 10 best cities to live in the world. Anyways, it isn't hard to see why the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples have lived here for over 60,000 years. Of course, the British also did their imperialist thing and claimed the continent in 1788 as a penal colony for their convicts, but Australia eventually gained independence in 1901. And since then, the land down under has become a country with one of the highest qualities of life, a great healthcare and education system, incredibly low crime, vibrant and welcoming residents, and an
What? Guys, the fear I would have, the fear that would be striking through my heart as that bird was on my back.
Education system, incredibly low crime, vibrant and
guys, that I am afraid of birds. And I mean like pigeons, like not pigeons, crows, like these small birds. That thing, if it decided to take me out in one foul swoop, it's a wrap. If it put that head back and I'm done for. But I think that's also awesome that, you know what I'm saying? You can just be hanging out with the animal like that. That's adorable.
Life, a great healthcare and education system, incredibly low crime, vibrant and welcoming residents, and an excellent economy with hardly any poverty. Nonetheless, only 25.5 million people actually live here, and less than 100,000 of those are US expats. Wait, there must be a reason only 1 to 4.
Only 25 million people in Australia? That's absolutely baffling to me. Yeah, but all the low crime, all these great things he's talking about, like, hey, it sounds like reasons to move to Australia.
100,000 of those are US expats.
Wait, there must be a reason only 1 to 4,000 new Americans immigrate here each year, right?
Well, maybe you'll find out in my top 10 reasons not to move to Australia. Number 10. It gets hot. Contrary to popular belief, most of Australia isn't all perfect year-round temperatures. Well, unless you're in Sydney or Perth, but even those get some bad days each year. And although a few cities on the southern coast and Tasmania actually get hit by really cold fronts coming up from Antarctica, the real issue in most of Australia is the heat. There is a reason nearly 90% of Australians live within 50 kilometers of the coast. The heat makes the rest of the country basically unlivable, especially in the outback where temperatures can reach 50 degrees Celsius. That's 122 Fahrenheit. Heck, it gets so hot in the desert here that the opal miners back in the day ended up building an underground settlement called Cooper Pedy to protect them from the heat. It's pretty cool,
Wow,
actually. And even
that
though the
is.
cooling effects of the ocean make the coastal areas more livable, most of the cities will still get days above 40 degrees Celsius during the summer. Add in some of the most beautiful beaches in the world with tons of sunny days to enjoy, and the fact that you're pretty darn close to the equator, and it isn't hard to see why 2/3 of Australians are diagnosed with skin cancer by the age of 70. Oh, and I'd be remiss
2/3 of them? My lord, that is a lot of Australians. Like 2/3 of the population diagnosed with skin cancer by the age of 70. Like that's kind of scary. But shoot, in Texas, we be facing I don't know the degrees in Celsius, but Fahrenheit. Shoot, our summers barely be dropping below 100, but it'd be like between 100, 108. I don't think it's been a day above 108, 110 so far. And that, I'm ducked in with the AC on full blast on those days. I'm not going outside, so I could not survive here. But Sheesh, the beaches do look beautiful. It does look. It looks very.
Australians are diagnosed with skin cancer by the age of 70. Oh, and I'd be remiss to not talk about that other thing the heat and sun cause as well. Bushfires. You've probably already heard about the wildfires that have decimated 46 million acres and killed 451 people this past year alone. But sadly, it's not the first, and it definitely won't be the last. Number 9. It's isolated. You might have wondered why so many Australians have left their beautiful homeland that seems a lot like paradise to most Americans. But the reality is that many Aussies feel trapped, lonely, and isolated from the rest of the world. And while you may think that's silly, since you can just hop on a plane and fly to a nearby country like Indonesia or Singapore, it actually isn't so simple. Most Australians live in the southeastern part of the country, so a flight to anywhere other than New Zealand means crossing the giant continent of Australia and then some, or just the entire Pacific Ocean. Basically, even those close countries end up being anywhere from a 6 to 10 hour flight away. It's at least a 14-hour flight if you're going to the US, and you should expect to spend over 24 hours in airplanes and airports if you want to visit anywhere in Europe. And before you comment,
So what if other countries are far away? Australia's huge. Just explore that.
well, the thing about that is that Australia isn't just isolated from other countries. The cities here are actually really isolated from each other.
God dang! Yeah, you ain't lying at all. That is very, very far. Sheesh.
From other countries. The cities here are actually really isolated from each other. The land down under is the third least densely populated country in the world, with just 3 people per square kilometer, and it only has 5 real cities with metro populations over 1 million residents. So, as I'm sure you can guess, the population centers are very spread out, and most of Australia is very remote. For example, the 2 closest big cities would be Sydney and Melbourne, but they're still an 8.5-hour drive apart. Melbourne to Brisbane's an 18-hour drive, Adelaide to Darwin's a 31-hour drive, and Sydney to Perth is a 41-hour non-stop trek with...
You can just fly from city to city though, right? You don't have to make that drive. Like, you can fly to these different cities because these drives are a no-go. But I will get in a plane.
1-hour drive, and Sydney to Perth is a 41-hour non-stop trek with pretty much nothing in between. Number 8. Time zones. Speaking of isolation, Australia isn't just physically isolated from other countries. You're also going to have trouble keeping in touch with your family or friends back home unless they live somewhere in Asia. Australia is an entire Pacific Ocean away from the US and 2 continents length away from Europe, so the time zones are practically exact opposites. Now, Australia has 3 main time zones, but for the sake of just showing how different the times are, when it's 7 a.m. in Sydney, it's 10 p.m. in London, and when it's 6 a.m. in Perth, it'd be 6 p.m. in New York. I get that this is just more of an inconvenience than a huge deal, but it can get pretty tedious trying to schedule a call with your international family and friends. Number 7, the internet sucks. If you finally do manage to get a hold of your family and friends, time zones might not be the only thing that get in the way. Because even if you schedule that Zoom call perfectly, the internet might just randomly cut out or start lagging, and by the time it's fixed, it's probably the other person's bedtime. Sure, the United States isn't anywhere near the best when it comes to internet speeds compared to most developed countries, but it's
Really? My internet be on point most of the time. My internet be pretty fast. Who has the best internet speeds? What country got or continent, country, whatever, got the best internet speeds? I'm very intrigued at that.
are near the best when it comes to internet speeds compared to most developed countries, but it's light speed compared to Australia, which is only ranked as the 43rd best country for internet. And no, I don't just mean that on average it has relatively slow download and upload speeds. I mean the most expensive plans still disconnect or lag frequently, and a lot of the plans actually have data caps. Who does that anymore? A 200 gigabyte a month plan in Brisbane with download speeds only up to 12 megabits per second will cost just $65 a month. And don't even think about going over, or you'll have to pay an outrageous fee, and your internet speeds will slow down to 256 kilobytes per second. What developed nation has any internet speeds under 1 megabit per second? That's just ridiculous. Number 6, everything wants to kill you. If the frustrating...
I told them animals will be the reason your boy can't go get... No, sir. Not I.
Number 6, everything wants to kill you. If the frustratingly slow internet speeds are enough to make you want to go on a digital cleanse and take a camping trip out in the wilderness, well, don't, because literally everything here is trying to kill you. Yeah, Australia's home to box jellyfish, stonefish, tons of poisonous snakes and spiders, blue-ringed octopuses, stingrays, sharks, and the largest saltwater crocodiles in the world. Wait, did you think I was done? No, I'm just getting started. Because kangaroos, dingoes, cassowaries, emus, cone shells, and drop bears can all pose serious threats. Okay, well, maybe not the drop bears since they don't actually exist, but the rest of those animals have all taken human lives. Australia just isn't a place where you can spontaneously go for a hike or swim without being very cautious of your surroundings at all times. Heck, there's a story of a man being snatched out of his boat in a river by a giant crocodile while he was just going fishing with his family. Although
Yeah, Australia, I love y'all. I love y'all. I just don't know if I could ever come, but I love you guys.
Boat in a river by a giant crocodile while he was just going fishing with his family. Although don't get too worried, because you're actually more likely to die by falling off a horse than from one of the deadly critters here. Just be careful and respect the animals whose homes you're visiting. Except for kangaroos. While you might think they're so cute and cuddly, they can be vicious, and many Australians actually see them as pests. The only reason the country hasn't declared war on them yet is because the kangaroos outnumber Australians 2-1, and the Aussies don't want a repeat of what happened in the Great Emu War of 1932. Spoiler alert, the emus won. Number 5.
Y'all lying to me. Y'all lying to me right now. A Great Emu War. With emus and people. Stop it. Because if the people wanted to take out an animal species, I'm sure they would have. I don't care if y'all outnumber them 3-1. They got weapons. They got all these weapons. You feel me? But kangaroos outnumber people 2-1. That means there's at least 50 million kangaroos in all. Bro, this is crazy. This sounds like the animals continent right here. This state continent, and they just allowing people to live in it.
Of 1932. Spoiler alert, the emus won. Number 5. Bad drivers. While many Aussies try to blame the kangaroo and their lack of road sense as the reason for so many car accidents, only 7,992 kangaroo collisions actually occurred in 2019, which was less than 5% of the total automobile accidents in Australia. So maybe the drivers should start taking a little more responsibility. Now, of course, every town, city, state, and country is going to have its fair share of bad drivers, but the drivers in Australia are really some of the worst in the world. And I'm not just saying this as some American trying to diss Australia, because I love Australia, and even people from Australia will admit that the drivers here are terrible. In fact, Aussies actually upload more videos of illegal and bad road behavior than any other country. Number 4. It's expensive. Aside from the aforementioned incredibly expensive internet, pretty much everything else here is expensive too. Because while Australia is big, it's still an isolated island, so a lot of things have to be shipped over long distances to get here. Of course, the cost of living varies based on location, with it generally being cheaper the farther you get from the coast and major cities, but Australia as a whole is pretty pricey. Granted, it is balanced out by the decent job pay, since Australia actually has the highest after-tax minimum wage of any country and a top 10 average income at around $64,000 per person per year. But then again,
$64K per person per year? Yeah, that's average? That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Average income at around $64,000 per person per year. But then again, this also just creates an expensive cycle, since the high minimum wage means high production costs, which means it's cheaper to import goods, but imported goods are expensive, and well, that's just economics. And even though most of the wages are livable, they're not necessarily enough to buy a home, especially in Sydney or Melbourne, where the median home values are 1.15 million and 855,000 Australian dollars respectively. That's nearly 820,000 US dollars for your average home in Sydney.
Yeah, you find states where that's average in the U. A lot of states where that's average in the U.S. So.
820,000 US dollars for your average home in Sydney. Number 3. Places close early. To add on to the fact that things are expensive here, it might be difficult to even buy said things if you're working normal hours, since most shops, stores, and restaurants usually close by the time the sun sets during the week. And if they operate at all on the weekends, they're probably going to have even more limited hours. This one isn't a huge deal once you're used to it and plan accordingly, but it can be a big culture shock if you're coming from the States where there's an abundance of 24-hour businesses. Yeah. Now, to be fair, a few places do actually stay open later if you're in a big city like Sydney, Brisbane, or Melbourne, but it's hard to buy things past 5 or 6 p.m. pretty much anywhere else. Number 2. Poor mental health services. Despite their vivacious exterior, Australians usually keep their feelings to themselves. It's just not normal to talk about personal problems here, and the mental health of the nation is suffering for it. Now, there
I don't talk about personal problems either. But I'm if I am going through shit, I usually keep it in, but I'm usually happy most of the time, so I feel like it doesn't affect me much.
Personal problems here, and the mental health of the nation is suffering for it. Now, there are free care options available for at-risk individuals, but since there's a shortage of psychologists, it's left many other people with no one to talk to about their problems unless they pay a lot of money out of pocket. And even then, many doctors and citizens as a whole aren't well educated in the case of mental health here, so good therapy isn't easy to find. 1 in 5 Australians between the ages of 16 and 85 have experienced mental health illness, and over 20% of young Australians struggle with depression or anxiety. Maybe the mental health issues here actually contribute to that risk-taking, fearless reputation most Australians have earned themselves, since it's kind of the culture here to just suck up your problems and pretend you're always having a good time. Now, before we get to number 1, make sure you leave a like and subscribe, and if you'd want to see more videos about Australia or any other countries in general, let me know in the comments. But without further ado, number 1. The immigration process is very difficult. While visiting Australia is as easy as having a valid passport, filling in an online application, and paying a small fee, becoming a permanent resident is incredibly difficult for US citizens. Now, for young Americans eager to explore the world, Australia does offer a program known as the Working Holiday Visa, which allows you to live in the country for a year or two in exchange for paid work. But if you want to move here permanently, Basically, there are a lot of requirements, such as a confirmation of funds, a skill set assessment, proficiency in English, a health exam, no criminal record, and being under the age of 45. For the most part, you either have to have a lot of money saved up.
You can't. They said if you 46, you can't come here. I love that.
Under the age of 45. For the most part, you either have to have a lot of money saved up and plan to start a business in Australia or offer a highly desired skill that no available Australian worker has. So while it's definitely easier to move here than to certain countries in Europe, it's still very difficult for your average American to immigrate here permanently, and that's probably why only 1,000 to 4,000 Americans do it each year. I'm sure more would if they could. But Australia is a beautiful country with amazing cities, culture, and people. So if you're willing to go through the troubles and put in the effort of moving here, you won't be disappointed.
That's pretty awesome. Australia, yeah, from all the views and everything, looked absolutely beautiful. But those 10 reasons, the biggest one for me is just the animals. Just if I can stay away from the animals, I feel like I could do it. And just have my internet good to go. I need the top internet, the top internet. But that's all we got for this one. If you guys got a favorite video you want to see me react to, you can subscribe to Patreon or in the description section of your Google form link. Hit the link, fill out your suggestions, send it to me. Want me to get yours faster? Fill out premium. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Ring notification bell. Get a video a thumbs up so it gets suggested. Social media, Patreon, all up top. You want to subscribe to any of it? Follow the links in the description. All you gotta do is hit the link, follow me, talk to me. Love talking to you guys. You guys are the most incredible team on YouTube. It's your boy D Neal. Out.